Hey there, Pisces. So this is your forecast for the summer season if you're in the northern hemisphere, or the winter season if you're in the southern hemisphere. So this is a reading in two parts. It's slightly longer than my usual readings because we're covering quite a lot, really. So the first part of this reading is to understand the seasons and how they've been playing out. And I always think, and you might know this about me already, that I always find that where you've just come from determines how you're going to be living your life right now. And so I do want to talk about what you've been completing on recently. And this is encompassed in this area here, which was the last season from around the 20th of March right the way through to the 20th of June. The spring if you're in the northern hemisphere, or the autumn if you're in the southern hemisphere. What were you learning during that time? I'll also talk about what was surprising, because I think whichever season we're in, the opposite season is showing us how we're being challenged, like the extra challenges to come in. For instance, each season we have a series of new moons, and they always take place in the signs of the season. And then all the full moons, which are quite challenging, always take place in the signs of the opposite season. So, for instance, here we've got the new moons. That's Mercury retrograde there. But these are the new moons in the actual season we're in, from Cancer, Leo and Virgo, the zodiac months that we're dealing with. And then the full moons are in the opposing signs. So that gives you a bit more of an idea about the layout. So, yeah. And during this, I also want to talk about what you might need to watch out for this season. And of course, this is where the full moons are. And then a little bit about the opportunity and the gift of this season, like what are you moving towards, and why that's so important. So let's get cracking. So as you come into this new season on the 20th of June, and I have to apologize, I'm recording this on the 23rd of June. It's taken me such a long time to get through all these forecasts. But as you're in this season, you're heading into quite an intense and creative time. It's like it almost feels like a turning point of sorts, because you've been in quite an internal place, and now all of a sudden your creativity is coming back, and then you're going to be fusing that with other people in your life. So there's a lot of different things going on, but what has led you there? Well, that's where the previous season comes in. So let's just pace this out. So from the start of this astrological year in March, when the sun went into Aries, and you've got the North Node and Chiron in Aries, so that's a pretty strong sign showing up in your chart. The second house was really, really emphasized. Now, the second house is a place of resources where we feel like we are valid, where we feel deserving, where we are happy to receive, where we go into receivership, where we are building our value. I really think the second house really encompasses where our value is. So, how much money you earn, for instance, how gifted you are, how many resources you have, are all captured here, as well as how you think about yourself. You are your own resource. That's been one of my core messages for almost 2 decades now. I think you are your own resource. The only people that have anything to do with, how resourceful we are and how gifted we are, or how much we have in life, really comes from ourselves and what we can generate. And also how much we're prepared to receive. Are we open to receiving help? Are we open to receiving gifts? Are we open to receiving judgments even? The more we can receive, the more we've got to use, So there's a lot going on. And the North Node is certainly bringing up a lot to do with any discomfort about feeling deserving, feeling good enough, and building your self-esteem. And Chiron here is certainly bringing up lots of old wounds about self-esteem. So March, April would have been quite intense. And what was probably surprising about that was just how many people in your life were also chipping in and saying, yes, and whilst you're at it, have a look at this. So it felt like there was a lot of judgment going on as well. And then from that, you were almost renegotiating your sense of belonging in your local community and with what you know to be true for yourself. And so, you know, I think the 3rd and 4th house are really places of belonging. You know, they are where we, you know, can come to rest our head a little bit. Okay, the home, the 4th house is really where we know you know, we are anchored, we're supported, hopefully. And the 3rd is just around our home. You know, it's as we start to take steps out of, you know, out of infancy into our life. It's how we're starting to make sense of things. And so the 3rd house should be a place, I think, with some safety in it. You know, it's a place where we're learning the social narrative of your time, of your people, of, you know, this is where you get a lot of normalcy, I think. And during that time, you know, there were lots of things coming from outside of your community, lots of new ideas, lots of challenging and probably threatening ideas about politics, religion, like social contracts, stories and narratives about humans and how humans behave in this, that, and the other. Lots of conflicting information that almost takes you out of the simplicity of where you live. And so that was something to contend with. And then the final part of this season has really seen you almost collapsing at home and saying, oh, do you know what? This outside world is a little bit nuts. I actually need to rest a bit. I need to relax. I need to re-nourish myself. And, you know, during this time, you've maybe got to know your family a bit better, got to know your home a bit better, helped to feel a little bit more stable. And I think that was the whole purpose of this. Even though life was still trying to get you out there, focusing on your career, focusing on all these outward goals, but actually you're resting here. And this is how you enter into the next season, which we're in right now. So in a rested state where you've recently renegotiated your inner value, you've thought about that, and you've renegotiated how you are in your local community, you've got a much bigger idea of who you are. It's really brought you back to your roots, literally. And so now, you know, in your rested, belonging and kind of upgraded state, you're in the 5th house, and the 5th house is there to give you a bit of a break. You know, the 5th house is to say, okay, you're rested, now let's go have some fun. The 5th house is almost like a joy factory. It's where we are creating our joy. It's where joy finds us. And so, you know, hobbies come into this in a big way. You know, if you've got something on your mind that you want to create, it's there. Your children come up there. In fact, all young children, you know, in your midst, even if they're not your own, you know, may well come from this area. And it's also a place of sensuality, and also early romance, you know, connecting with people, because that obviously brings a lot of joy, or can bring a lot of joy. So, you know, there is this, from your new sense of where you have recently been, you know, as you enter into this season, you're meant to be a bit idle, you know, you're meant to kind of relax a little bit and allow the joy to come up. And when you start to get in, I always think of this as a sort of root chakra and also sacral chakra kind of place, where things really come up from your womb, or come up from, I don't know, the creative center in your body. There's this desire to do something. And so that desire is really, really strong. And so that's what's going on really during the zodiac month, not the calendar month, but the zodiac month of Cancer. And then as you're going into the sign of Leo, where you've opened up your life to so many more ideas and so much more passion, so much more joy and desire, and following your own bliss, you'll notice that as you go into the sign of Leo, your life is a little bit more chaotic. You can't really go through the 5th house without bringing in a lot of extra stuff. And so the 5th house is really there to show you, the 6th house and the sign of Leo in your chart is there to help you, I think, come back into the belonging of your life. And so you're like looking at your life and you're thinking, oh, I've got to fit that in now. I've got to fit that in. And how does that work with my usual routine? Because it hasn't worked recently. And so there's a lot of reorganization. There's a bit of a rejig. And I think it's worth paying quite a lot of attention to this rejig, because in it, you know, your health, your money, and how you work your finances, how you work your home, and all of that is captured in this rejig. So it's worth getting it it done really beautifully. I mean, Pisces Ascendant aren't necessarily known, unless you've got a really well organized and very rational sun. You know, Pisces Ascendant aren't really known for having a well ordered life necessarily. So this could be something that you do quite well. And you might want to get some help on it as well. But, you know, what's coming up as you go into the Virgo season from the 22nd of August is that people are becoming more important again. You know, so what I think is the 6th house is giving you a little bit of a breather between all this fun and joy and stuff that you're trying to bring in. And then from the partnering and the more intense noticing people, you know, so I think the more you can organize about your life, the stronger you can get in yourself, the more space you create in yourself, so that as you're going into the 22nd of August into the sign of Virgo, your opposites, you know, your opposite house to your ascendant, there is this opportunity to bring more people in, you know, because as the sun gets around here, it does become quite a busy time for you. So yeah, a lot going on. Now, one of the things that I think is really apparent about the 7th house, and that is that other people matter a lot more. You know, it feels like you're coming into this time of absolutely learning more about yourself through the people that you're with. And so, you know, this is where you and your brand are, your personal way of being, and this is where everyone else is. And so in many respects, you know, the Virgo energy of your 7th house is showing you everything that you're not. And so you often find people that come in who seem quite different, and possibly with this Virgo signature, who seem very organized, very effective, very kind, very, you know, good communards. They're very good people who want to help out. You know, they're very good at dealing with emergencies. They're quite rational, you know, and they're quite fit and healthy in a way that the sort of Piscean might be a bit too scattered to do that. What they're also showing you is a glimpse of how you could be. So they're teaching you new ways of being, if you're open to that kind of lesson. You know, they are, just by being in their midst, you're likely to start to, you know, work with your inner Virgoan archetype. You know, I just think, even though this is your 1st house and that's your 7th house, I think, you know, we can use any of these houses to get learning from, you know, and I think you can learn from the people. The 7th house, it's all about the people. You can learn a lot about your opposite side and bring it into your own persona. So this is quite an opportunity, but you can't really do it if your life is still chaos. You won't have enough time to really be able to hang out with people from August if you don't create some space. So yeah, this is an interesting season. First of all, you're creating joy and really enjoying what comes up from following your bliss and just being, absolutely asking yourself, how does it get better than this? How can I enjoy more joy? How can I bring more passion into my life? How can all those kinds of questions are going to really lead you in the right direction? So yeah, lots going on. Now, during this time, if I go to the moons and the full moon, so with the new moons and the full moons. So we just had, I'm recording this on the 23rd, and so I just missed the full moon from yesterday. But there's 2 full moons in the sign of Capricorn in this Cancer zodiac month. And they are really showing you everything outside of your passion. So this is like the passion you're creating for yourself. But this is other people trying to get you to create a sort of passion that everyone's got a bit of a say in. You know, it's almost like a joint vision, a shared vision. It's about friendships, networks, and it's also about co-creating. So it's also a really good law of attraction house. I really believe that, you know, because there you're maybe not creating with friends, but you're creating with the universe. That's pretty cosmic. And as such, you know, other people might be telling you where your best joy is. And that may or may not be true. I do believe that when the universe gets involved, you know, my experience of the law of attraction is actually the universe seems to know better for me what might be the thing that brings me the most joy than my own intention. So I do defer to God or the universe, or, you know, the energy of all that is. I do take their directive. But the 11th house can also have other people telling you, well, this is probably where you're going to feel joy, makes me feel joyful. If you do this with me, it's going to therefore give you joy. It doesn't always work like that. And I think it brings up a lot of tension, these 11th house full moons. So, yeah, most likely you're a bit burnt out from other people getting you to like come to this. Yeah, it'd be fun. You'll love it. I love it. Therefore, you're going to love it. And you're probably thinking, not really, not so much. And that's certainly coming up for you on the 21st of July with the last full moon in Capricorn, because that's also in the sign of Pluto. It's in a conjunction with Pluto. And of course, the moon and Pluto together uses quite coercive language and ideas to get their own way. And so you may well feel quite pressured at that time to enjoy somebody else's vision of what joy is, which really might not flow with you, might not vibe with you. So this new moon in the middle on the 7th of July, it's there for you to really determine, describe and enjoy what it is you want to bring more of into your life. So you get clearer about it. So later on, you know, at the time of this potentially coercive full moon, when someone's saying, hey, you got to come here, this is the best place to be. And you're like, this could really help you. So you might want to consider phrases such as, you know what, I'm really happy to do that, so long as I can see how that's going to bring joy to me. You know, as soon as I can get into my own joy, I will make a decision about that. You know, if you're making decisions during this time, in particular around the time of the full moon, but you're not already in your place of joy or your place of creativity or passion, then you're likely to make the wrong decision. So what I would say, the gift of this month is to notice what brings you the passion, the joy, the upliftment, and stay in that place as much as possible. So as you're getting invitations, you can say, you know what, that doesn't fit in with how I'm feeling right now. You know what, thank you for that. It's not right for me right now, but when it does become right for me, I'll give you a shout. You know, so you're putting your joy first. You're putting your love of life first, your passion, your real sort of vibrational energy first. And I think that's a right thing to do. Then as you come into this Leo time, the new moon in Leo is an interesting day because it's also the day when Mercury goes retrograde here in your 7th house and comes back into your 6th. So this is interesting. You know, the new moon in Leo is there to really help you see a new way of organizing your life and to get a new, clearer picture of how your life flows. So I do think there's something really strong about your new life flows. Now, could there be health flows, routines? I don't know how you're manifesting this necessarily, but this new way of experiencing your life is also influenced by Mercury retrograde. And given that Mercury retrograde is starting off in the 7th house and coming back into the 6th, what I would say is, you know, you may well be organizing your life because of what you think other people think you should do. And actually, as Mercury is coming back, it's saying, no, this is your decision about how you organize your life. This has to be your decision. It's your responsibility. And yeah, I just want to clear that up because, you know, for people with Pisces ascendant, you know, I don't know what it's like to have a Pisces ascendant. I've got quite a few strong Pisces people around me. I've got my moon in Pisces, a sister with that. My mum's a moon in Pisces, a sun in Pisces, and I've got a son with Pisces ascendant. And one thing I do know is a really strong Pisces energy, no matter where it is, goes with a flow sometimes a little bit too much. You know, because you can enjoy yourself in most situations, you think that is your preference, but that might not be. And so you may well get pulled over to this point, and it feels okay at first because you just are quite fluid and quite happy to be pulled in this direction and then pulled in that direction. But over time, if you're not making a preference, you get really pulled out of your shape. And that's something I really notice with Pisces, the Pisces energy, full stop, is that it's really easy to just come away from what works for you. And so I really think another really strong factor of this season ahead, and this Mercury retrograde is, you're saying to yourself, okay, what do I want? What would work for me, not for anyone else? And so you might choose to ask yourself questions such as, this new idea about how I'm organizing my life, do I own that? Is that my idea? How do I know that's my idea? How can I be completely sure that's my idea? And then if you come up and you think, oh, that's somebody else's value on how I should live, you might want to ask, well, does that work for me or not? If I hadn't heard that, would I have come up with that myself? And so really bring it back. That Mercury retrograde is bringing you back into your organization, your authority, your place of being, your center. And of course, from the 28th of August, Mercury starts moving forwards again. And that's great because you've made that correction. You've made that connection. And it is time to move forwards again. So this new moon in Leo is a very big day because it's a course correction day. It's, you are creating your world the way you want it, and you're taking full responsibility for it. So you can't recreate it, and then when it goes wrong, you say, "Oh, well, I was following your advice." And most people would say, "Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you?" Why wouldn't you go with what works for you? And the true answer is, well, it's just the way I'm wired, So yeah, this is a new style for you, really work it out. And that's probably why so many people with a strong Pisces energy prefer to spend a lot of time on their own, and prefer to sometimes be on the outside of things, and prefer to keep everything really fluid because it gives them choice to move in and out of situations. But is that because they're adapting? Is that an adaptation to cope with life? Is that a coping strategy? Because, I think what this season could really show you is that with a little bit of learning and practicing these new skills, you could actually start to create better boundaries for yourself, so it's a big deal. So the new moon in Virgo then, I think is about your boundaries. It is about being really sure that, at this time I am enjoying myself with you, and I can see that we can have lots of fun together, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I'm really grateful for this relationship. I really love hanging out with you. And then if you do that right, then the full moon in Pisces, which is also the first eclipse of the next eclipse season, should go well. However, where you're being pulled too far into your relationships and the energy of the people around you, if you do too much of that, when this full moon in Pisces comes, which is in a conjunction with one of your ruling planets, Neptune, this could be quite confusing. So really, I would say from, say, the 14th of September, diarize something to get you back into your own energy center. Maybe stop all the socializing, just book in some time, clear a bit of time in your diary and say, okay, this is my time. This is when I'm going to get a massage. Maybe when I get some coaching. This might also be where I go for walks or take a little mini break or something. So that by the time the full moon in Pisces comes around, you really are an expert in where you begin and where you end. And if you don't know, ask yourself, who does this belong to? Like, this thing I'm feeling, is it mine? Is it not? And if you get a sense of release, then you've touched on something really deep, so keep asking yourself, who does this belong to? There's a great exercise. In fact, I think there might even be an app. I really quite like Access Consciousness, and I'm pretty sure there's an app called Who Does This Belong To, or something similar. But it's worth checking out the work of Dr. Dane here. That's DaneHeer. And Access Consciousness, and also Gary Douglas. They talk about who does this belong to quite a lot. It's really worthwhile you listening to that Pisces Ascendant. That's my top tip. So last thing that I want to work on in this forecast, and that is the gift of this season, and also your opportunity. So given all of this, that you are really determining what is working for you, you're pulling back and working on your relationships in such a way that you're getting clearer about what really does bring you your joy. I think that's really, really important. I think that's really helping you. Like the gift of the North Node going through your second house, I think, is about you revaluing yourself and realizing your intrinsic value, your intrinsic deserving, like why you deserve to be loved, why you deserve to be looked after, why you might deserve to be helped, why you might deserve a great life, and how you can receive that life. You know, we're not happy to receive things that we don't intrinsically believe we deserve. If we've got any kind of reservations about you know, when people kind of glow you up a little, you know, when people are saying, oh, you're so lovely, and you don't quite feel it in yourself, it's really hard to take that compliment. It's really hard to accept it. So anywhere where you're not able to accept or receive is showing you that there's a deservability issue at hand. There's something underneath that. There's an underlying belief that you might have about yourself that you somehow don't deserve it. It's worth noticing that, and so Chiron here in the North Node are really working on your behalf here to bring all of that into your consciousness, so you can make some changes. Like, you know, at the end of the year and the beginning of the next year, the North Node is moving from the sign of Aries and into Pisces, and then it's in your first house. It is going to cross over and make a connection with your ruling planet, Neptune, or one of your ruling planets. And so that's going to be a very informative time for you. And as the North Node comes through your first house, it's all about you. Really, truly, it's about you and your brand and like you being here. It's really important. So I do see that the true gift of this season is to get a much clearer vision of what brings you happiness and what doesn't. You know, if you can come out of this season really being able to say, I like that, I don't like that, I like that, I don't really like that, then you're less likely to be pulled out of things. And, you know, when you're in that place of choice and choosing how you want to put your energy or where you want to put your energy, you could still say, I don't like that, but you could choose to go and enjoy it, you know, and you might learn something from that. But if you've never defined it as something you don't really like and then experience that you do like it, you don't have that learning of, wow, I've just changed my mind on something. Wow, you know, I thought this and now I realize that sometimes I make a bad judgment. And, you know, so all of that is really helpful. And it all comes from not sort of across the board just saying, I'm everything. It's saying, no, you know, I can like everything, but actually the things that really light me up are these. And this is part of your secret recipe, the secret recipe of what it's like to be a Pisces ascendant. And if you can get really clear on that, that's going to really help you. That's a real gift. Last thing then, your opportunity. Jupiter right now, another one of your ruling planets, is in your fourth house. All of this information and learning that you're doing about yourself is helping you feel more grounded, helping you know where home is, helping you know that you're safe, you're secure, and it's all in your hands. So this is I really see that this is a very serious gift and a serious opportunity for you to learn your value and learn that you are ultimately home. So there you go. I hope that was helpful and I hope it was worth the wait, and sending you loads of love. And if I can be of any help to you, just give me a shout. All my details are below. But anyway, have a fantastic season ahead and catch you next time.